Hey guys, Kevin is for Doctor Who, Series 9, Episode 7, The Zygon Invasion. And I really was not looking forward to this episode. I wasn't. It really did look like a step down from the previous episodes that we've had. This has been a really strong season. And yeah, this episode I didn't think was that good. I thought this episode was okay. Again, this is part 1. I do think part 2 is going to be better, but this was just an okay episode. And it wasn't that it was bad. It just, compared to the amazing episodes we had, this was the episode that kind of broke the amazing quality of this season. Again, this wasn't a bad episode. There were actually some really great scenes in this episode, some that I definitely really enjoyed, and there were some really intense stuff. I just didn't find it that good, honestly. I thought it was just an okay episode. And I get that it's Halloween, they want to do something scary, but I don't know, I wasn't really feeling it, you know? I wasn't really into it, and that sucks because I want to be into Doctor Who, but I really was not into this episode. So we basically see, and it's mainly because, one of the reasons because I did not watch Day of the Doctor. I think that's one of the reasons why. But basically, we see that once upon a time there were 3 Doctors, 2 Osgoods, and 1 Peace Treaty, and of course, Day of the Doctor, I guess Osgood was killed in that, so basically, 2 Osgoods describe Project Double. Osgood is back, they're actually not dead. Basically, this is UNIT's attempt to resettle the Zygons masquerading as humans. I guess in Day of the Doctor, there was this peach tree that made Zygons humans, and now all of a sudden they're going back on it. Why now, I don't know, but, there's a flash of one Osgood mourning at the grave of her sister. They say the Zygon shapeshifting is not a weapon but a survival mechanism, and if one Zygon or human goes rogue, the treaty breaks, so the Doctor left the Osgood box as a means of last resort. Now, I will say, that's interesting. I do find the idea of Zygons, taking the form of humans, wanting to survive. I do find that quite interesting that they did that. I don't think that's, bad. Again, just, it was very one-note, especially from the Ashiter storyline. I really was not into it that much, I have to say. I'm gonna switch. Yeah, that's better. But yeah, I really was not into it that much just because I didn't find this whole thing that interesting. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe you guys found it more interesting, but I just didn't really find it that interesting, I have to tell you guys. So, we cut to Osgood running into a building. This was a genuinely creepy scene, I have to say. I mean, they really sold the horror tone very well here. She's running into a building, hiding under a desk, puffing her inhaler. Chaos and gunfire can be heard as Zygon walks in the room as Osgood calls the doctor on her phone. And the Zygon then drags Osgood out from beneath the desk, sends some sort of power current into her brain, and, right away, I think this is showing that Osgood is a Zygon. Obviously, the Zygons are connected to Osgood, and I definitely really like that. So then we see the Doctor. He's playing Amazing Grace on his guitar, which is awesome. I love seeing the Doctor mess around in his guitar. It's always awesome to watch. And he gets the call on the Nightmare scenario, and of course he knows what that has to do with. So again, really good setup, I will say. Really, really good setup. It's just, I felt like the execution wasn't that interesting. The TARDIS arrives in Brockwell Park, London. The Doctor calls Clara, but he gets her voicemail. He says he's staking out dangerous creatures, goes to speak to 2 little girls, and Kate, Jack, and Unit are mobilizing in search of Osgood. It was cool to see Unit again. I do like seeing, the units, but again, just not that interesting. Really wasn't. They spot her with a satellite being dragged away in shackles by 2 Zygons. Jack says their encryption has been broken, and the Doctor talks to the 2 Zygons disguised as children, and he says he knows there are rogue extreme factions of Zygons, and he knows that they are Zygons, but the children say the extremists are their problem, and the Doctor gets a call from Kate. So basically, I like the idea of these Zygons, they come in peace. They're not trying to do something bad, but the Doctor gets a call from Kate while he's distracted. A smoke bomb goes off, a Zygon kidnaps the girls, taking them away in a van, and Symbol is left behind. And my question here is, if the girls were already Zygons, why the hell did the Zygon kidnap them? I don't understand that. It didn't really make sense here. So the same Symbol is hanging over, Osgood in a video message released by the extremist Zygons, and these extremist Zygons, they are the ones that you need to worry about. They basically are like Daleks, which I think is cool, but we already have Daleks. I didn't really see why these Zygons were that much of a threat, and they're not that much different than some other, villains we've seen. I mean, Ashiter, for example, last year, last episode, can take the form of anything. And, the same with, but Ashiter can do that, and I was kind of wondering if Ashiter had to do with this, but of course she didn't. We are getting an appearance from her again. She is returning episode 10, which is awesome, and I can't wait for that, but basically, the same symbols hang over Osgood in a video. Oh, I just read this. So basically, the doctor calls Clara, gets her voicemail gun. He tells her to call him back now. And Clara is notified to 127 missed calls from the doctor. It's just like, holy shit, Clara, like, what are you doing? And she runs into a lost child in the stairwell before she can listen. And of course, Clara doesn't know about the Zygon threat. So she goes looking for the boy's parents. She finds them, but they're acting odd. The boy screams when they take him. She calls back the doctor, and I don't think Clara was around when the Zygon threat happened, so basically, Unit brings the Doctor and Clara to a preschool that was also the secret headquarters of Zygon High Command, and Kate says the Zygons have been difficult to deal with since Osgood went missing, and then there's been radicalization of the younger brood. So then a Zygon communication command computer that's been compromised somehow, and the doctor gets it working again. They explain to Clara that there were two Osgoods that were both human and Zygon. One was human, one was Zygon. One died and the other went mad with grief. Well, one of them didn't die. We know that the one that supposedly died is still out there. So basically, they get a video message from the Zygon High Command. The children, Jemima and Claudette. Those are weird names, Jemima. I've never heard... The last time I heard the name Jemima was Chi Chi Bang Bang. Just saying. I mean, I don't... That's not a common name, but that was cool. They morph into Zygon form and are killed, and this is something that is very, big in this episode. Get used to this, because I found this just not to be that interesting. Another Zygon claims to be the new Zygon High Command and says truth or consequences. My biggest problem with this is that it was so predictable with these Zygons. You knew every time you were going to see someone, they were going to be a Zygon. I mean, you could just tell. And it got very, very redundant very fast. That's my biggest thing of this episode, is that it just got very redundant. Kate refused to negotiate with the rebels. She says she's going to order Colonel Walsh to bomb the High Command. The Doctor warns that bombing the extremist minority will only radicalize the Zygons as a whole, and, it's just not a good idea at all, so... I like that the Doctor, knows that these Zygons aren't going to hurt them unless they try to attack them, and Clara says Truth or Consequence is a town in New Mexico, so the Doctor sends them there. And Kate tells Clara about a gas that kills Zygons that was developed by Unit, but was taken by the Doctor. And basically, Caitlin and Jack return to Clara's apartment building and try to follow a mysterious figure, but he disappears in an elevator, and fluid begins to seep out from behind the control panel. Clara opens it up, and inside is a Zygon tech control, and she touches it, the elevator shakes, the lights go out, the door opens, and she and Jack find themselves in a secret underground area, which they are for the rest of the episode. And the Doctor arrives as Unit prepares a drone strike on the Zygon town. The drone operator hesitates, finally pulls away, and basically, Kate arrives in Truth or Consequences and finds the Zygon extremist symbol. She pulls out her gun and begins to investigate. She finds the sheriff's department abandoned. An officer pulls a gun on her. She asks if Kate came alone. Kate asks why she would need it, and basically Colonel Walsh explains that they don't know how to track the Zygons. They just don't know how big of a threat they are, and because of that, they don't really know how to track them. So she believes that they should have the gas to kill the Zygons, and Jack tells Clara about strange activity in elevators across the countries, people being dragged in bundles, and then disappearing. They keep just disappearing, and they probably are turning into Zygons, and again, I just didn't care about this. I didn't find this that interesting. It wasn't that, they couldn't have made this interesting, it's just I found it very, very redundant. Yeah, they're taking people away, they're taking the form of Zygons. It was pretty obvious what was going on, and that's really what made this episode kind of boring for me. The officer recounts to Kate about how the Zygons slowly came into the town, and she tells Kate that Osgood was here in a hotel, but they're all gone now, and Unit moves in on the Zygon village, and Walsh believes they're holed up in a town's church. They call for the Zygons to come out and surrender, and we get the only scene in this episode that I actually really liked. I loved this scene. Because I thought it was really emotional. I definitely really liked this. A woman walks out alone. The woman looks like the soldier's mother. Basically the soldier's mother, and she tells him that the commanders are the imposters, and she says that, that they come in peace, and more people are walking out of the church. The mother tries to get the soldiers to come inside. The soldiers follow them in. Walls shoots her way into the headquarters, and I thought that was just a very powerful scene. The way that was done, this soldier is convinced that this is his mother. I mean, this is something where it looks like his mother. He doesn't want to think that it's not his mother, and I thought this was overall very interesting. So the soldier follows them in. Walsh shoots away into the headquarters. There's a map of the Zygon invasion, electrified bodies. Walsh leaves, and the doctor finds Osgood in a cave. He frees her, and a Zygon appears behind them. The bombs start coming down, and rubble falls onto the Zygon. And basically, the officer shows Kate a bin of electrified people. And then Clara and Jack lead unit underground. They find something glowing red. They don't know what it is, but it's glowing red. What it is, they don't know. And the Doctor's group will head out the captive Zygon from the cave onto the Doctor's present of the world plane, and the Doctor comments on Osgood's question mark collar. He asks her which one she is. She rejects the question. The Doctor believes she must be human because the other is dead, but Osgood explains that that's not the case anymore. Neither of them are dead. So that's really interesting and doesn't really totally make a lot of sense, but I am definitely interested in seeing what's going on there, because, if one Osgood is alive, then the other one must be dead, but apparently that's not the case. They're both alive. So Clara and Jack walk into a caravan full of Zygon pods. The Doctor interrogates the captive Zygon. The Zygon says that they want the world, and what Osgood says, though, I did find interesting. She says she's human and Zygon. So Osgood's one now, I'm assuming. I guess there's one Osgood. I don't know if there's another one out there. But I do kind of feel like this Osgood is manipulating the Doctor, that, he can't really trust her, and that could be very interesting if they take the story that way. I'm just not that interested right now. I'm not interested yet. I'll probably be interested next week, but as a whole, I'm not that interested in this storyline right now. So, the Doctor interrogates the captive Zygon. The Zygon says they want the world, and unit soldiers march into the caravan. Clara says they're growing duplicates and finds one of herself, and Jack realizes that these are the originals, which means Clara is a Zygon, and she and unit find themselves surrounded. Clara gives the orders to kill the traitors, and I gotta say, Jenna Coleman as a villain is badass. She really was awesome. It is revealed, basically, that Clara was captured after finding the boy in the stairwell, which means that Clara was killed, and she's now a Zygon. Obviously, she's not going to stay dead. We know that Clara is going to be alive, because even though Jenna Coleman is leaving this season, you never know, they're not going to kill her off now. I mean, that would be a really stupid way to go. If they killed Clara off now, I'd be really pissed, honestly, if they did that. I'm going to see if Clara really is dead. I don't think that Clara is going to be dead. There's no way. She's in the description for episode 10. There's no way that Clara is going to be dead after this episode. She's definitely alive. I mean, she definitely is coming back next week. I know that she is not dead. There's no way that she's going to be. So, I'm just going to say it right now. There's no way that Clara is going to stay dead. I know this can happen. So the Zygon prisoner tells the Doctor that they want a world where they can live in their true forms. He says they've already taken in the UK, and that I found very interesting. This Zygon prisoner I did sympathize with, although the obvious CGI was a problem. I will say the CGI looked like shit in this episode. It looked so bad, and the officer recounts how a single Zygon was seen by the humans, and the humans saw them as monsters. She realizes that Kate has no backup coming and transform Clara. And basically Clara, the Zygon, calls a Zygon in New Mexico, now in the form of Kate. Kate tells her she's been neutralized, and Clara reports to another that unit has been neutralized in the UK, and Clara then calls the Doctor, and I really did not like this scene. This could have been a very, a very good scene, but it's obvious that she's a Zygon, and the Doctor doesn't realize that. She tells the Doctor that Clara and the unit troops are dead. She then fires a rocket at the Doctor's plane, and the unit troops and Clara are dead. The Doctor is about to be dead too, and that's basically how this episode ends. What I really hate about the scene is, even after she says that, he's like, Clara? I'm like, who the fuck do you think that is? It's a Zygon. Like, that's not Clara. It was really stupid. Overall, guys, I didn't really find this episode that interesting. If you guys can't tell, I really was not that into it. It wasn't a bad episode. It just was really a step down from the past 3 two-parts we've had. We've had some really great two-parters. I didn't really feel like this episode was really about the Doctor or Clara. It was just about these Zygon threats. And it's not that that's interesting, but it doesn't really put the Doctor or Clara at risk. Even though they're in risk of dying, they're going to get out of this, obviously. They've gotten out of much harder stuff before, and If they can get out of what happened to them in the first two-parter, they're gonna get out of this, and it's inevitable that's what's gonna happen. They're never gonna speak this again, probably. Now, I do think Osgood is a very interesting character. Should Osgood be trusted? That I find very interesting, and I feel like the Doctor is too trusting of her, so we'll have to see what's going on with that. That I'm interested in. Other than that, I'm really not that into this storyline. I mean, it's obvious that whoever is a human is not going to be a human. They are a Zygon. It's pretty obvious, and that really is what made this episode just very redundant for me. It's not bad, it's just redundant, and I don't like redundancy. If you guys know that, I'm not a fan of redundancy. If you guys are, fine, but I just don't like redundance, and I think that this episode was very redundant. It was very much the same thing over and over again, and that really is why I wasn't a big fan of this episode. But overall, guys, I thought this episode was just okay. Maybe next week's will be a lot better. I definitely think next week is going to be better, but I found this one to be just okay. Let me know what you guys saw this episode, and I will see you guys. Is the Doctor going to realize that the Zygon's Clara? I mean, again, it's obvious that it's Clara. You can just tell. That's it for my review. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you guys in the next, which will be for tonight's episode of The Walking Dead, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.